Gregory Davis, Commentary on London. Blake begins this poem by walking through London and commenting on his observations. He focuses on the sounds and his sight. The images of stains in this poem's first lines records the introduction of the songs of innocence, but with a twist. We are now in a city, not in a specific setting, in a specific area, in an urban space. He comments on the Thames and and his repetition of the word chartered, how the upper classes have managed to charter not only the people building their mine forged manacles, but on the Thames and nature itself, in fact. In some ways, we even feel that Blake's language is restricted, that the city structure is restricting his ability to form words, that his words have marks of weakness, marks of woe within the poem itself. He creates a very suffocating atmosphere. In the first paragraph, he moves from chartered, he repeats the word chartered, the chartered streets, the chartered Thames, which are verbs, and then he moves on to marks of weakness and marks of woe, which are two nouns. He brands people. The speaker goes on to commenting on people he meets or his encounters as he walks through London. First he meets the people as he walks through London. He sees their marks of weakness and marks of woe, but these aren't very specific. He comments on the cries of man, every infant's cry, which we can assume this is just what he's hearing from the streets. The cry of men, the cry of infants. How this is not uncommon, this is in every voice. He comments on in every ban, which this could mean either a ban of alcohol, which could not only lead to many deaths due to the water in London being undrinkable, but into the unhappiness of the people being unable to drown their sorrows, or it could be referring to the ban in a wedding, which is commenting on the reoccurrence of this vicious cycle. First he meets the chimney sweeper, and how it is black. Every blackening church appalls at the chimney sweeper's cry. Commenting on how the chimney sweepers, which also links into the poem of the Songs of Innocence, the chimney sweeper, how the chimney sweepers are the lowest form of society, how their lives are basically meaningless to the upper classes, and they're there just to clean the soot off of the upper class of society, keeping it clean, keeping the upper classes running. He moves on to talk to the soldier. The hapless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace walls. He comments on how the soldier, possibly the people of London, are keeping the system of government in place. How the people build their own how the church builds people's mind-forged manacles. How people are trapped within their own heads. And in this case, how the soldiers fight for the repression of society. And how they fight in vain. How their blood runs down the monarchy's walls. how the people are keeping the system of government in place in spite of their marks of weakness and marks of woe. They're the ones keeping the society in place, but are told to do so by the church, which build people's mind-forged manacles. He then goes on to comment on it must be noted that we never see the people themselves, and he just refers to the people. He never refers to the monarchy directly, or the chimney sweeper directly, or man's marks, or the men, or the soldiers, nor to the vicar or the priest. But Blake simply blames the city's set of institutions, the church and the palace, for the people's marks of weakness and marks of woe, and rather how the victims help to make their own mind-forged manacles, which goes on to create an even more powerful system of control, commenting on how the church can be used to control the people, the very institution set there to protect the people and help in situations where it's necessary. It's helping to control the people, how the church is being used in an unjust manner. Notice how Blake never directly insults God or the system of beliefs, but how it's being manipulated and controlled by the system of government that's in place. Blake then he talks in the evening and thinking he's going through the day, walking in the day, and then going on to the night. And then he goes to the midnight streets, and how the youthful harlot's curse leads to the blast, the newborn infant's tear. How this vicious cycle is supporting itself. The youthful harlot then gets pregnant, the pregnant child becomes the youthful harlot, and the vicious cycle goes all around again. And the only exit to this is death, as the people were told by the church. Blake ends this by and blights the plagues at the marriage hearse. Blake's final image, the hearse, the quote, where love and desire combine with death and destruction. How the cycle is carrying on itself by the people how the institutions keep this cycle going by manipulating the very people that they're there to protect in the first place. And this is brought back by the blackening church appalls, how Blake is appalled, how the speaker is appalled by what he sees the church is doing, and how the church's system of government, which is meant to be white, how the church is meant to be the good guys, the powerful protector of the people, but how it's blackening with the chimney sweeper's cry, with the death of the people, yet more dust builds up on the church. And with the death of the soldiers, their blood, their lives run down palace walls, possibly keeping them afloat, keeping the system of government in place, keeping it chartered, making sure people don't think, and helping to build people's mind-forged manacles. The structure of this poem has 4 quadrants with alternate rhyming schemes. Blake's repetition of words is the most striking formal feature of the poem. This serves to emphasise the horrors and the pictures that the speaker describes. In conclusion, Blake is commenting on how chartered London has become, on how such a stringent system of government and how the government has manipulated the church, keeping this corrupt system in place. How the government tells the church to help build people's mind forge the people. How to trap people within their own heads from ever leaving this system, keeping the upper classes where they are. And he goes on at the very end to comment on how the cycle is yet again repeating itself, where he combines love and desire with death and destruction, with death and rebirth, and how each young life is tainted within the city. How one when born into poverty will stay in poverty, and the only exit of this life is death. The climax of life being death. How what the church gives, the marriage of the church, means nothing. How the marriage is a plague, and how this leads to death, and the only exit from life is death. And thank you for listening. The end.